So yesterday, my best friend, who most of you on YouTube probably know as either Ultra-Rayden 77, Ultrasonic Taylor, Rayden Taylor, or any of those channels. His channels are in my description, so you can find him. Anyway, my best friend yesterday moved back to his home state of Maryland, which means he moved pretty far away from me. Our last meeting was last week, and it was very emotional for both of us. So I decided that my first video after To Mark a 19 month would be a video counting down my top 10 reasons why I like my best friend. So here we go. My best friend is the supportive type. He is one of those kind of people who will be there for you no matter what. Whether it's us together during one of our hangout days, or if I'm feeling down about something I need somebody to talk to when nobody else is around. He is very supportive in anything that I say or talk about with him, and he likes listening to me. He always gives me good advice, and he's one person that I always talk with. Even though nowadays texting is the only way we can do that, but still, he's a very supportive person, and I really appreciate that about him. My best friend is very loyal. He's always loyal to those who are loyal to him. So basically, if you treat him well, he'll be there for you. It's a very cool thing in my book, because my best friend has had some crazy times throughout his lifetime, and there's a lot of people that he's not very loyal to, but there are people out there who are loyal to him, so he'll be loyal to you, and very loyal. And that is something I like about my best friend. We end up being loyal to each other, being supportive of each other, and that is one of those things that makes my best friend one of the coolest best friends you can have. My best friend is very defensive. My best friend has always told me that if anyone reaches me out in any way, shape, or form, he'll be there to defend me no matter what. Now, even though no such occasion has ever happened, I do take solace in the fact that my best friend is always willing to defend me no matter what. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure he does the same thing for his relatives and other friends as well. I like it that my best friend hasn't forgotten about me. Believe it or not, we had first met in 2009 at my alma mater, the college that I went to. And we were talking for a long while. A few weeks, actually. And then out of the blue, I had not seen him. I didn't know if something had happened or not. And then one day out of the blue, 5 years later, he texted me. There was no communication between the two of us for 5 years, and all of a sudden, he says he was back in town and wanted to hang out with his best friend again. Even though I wasn't sure I'd be able to get in contact with him ever again, it was very neat knowing that he had not forgotten about me. For a lot of people either don't know how to contact me or hasn't been able to contact me. So it's pretty cool knowing that there is someone out there who has not forgotten about me after the last encounter, which lasted over 2 years. So that was pretty cool. I really liked that. And that was one of those emotional feelings. And it was very cool. And at least this time, we won't be able to forget each other this time either. Because now we get to text each other all the time now. I like my best friend's game show knowledge. If there's only one thing realistically that my best friend knows way better than my boyfriend, don't tell him that, and that's his knowledge on game shows. My best friend is very knowledgeable about game shows. In fact, the first thing we ever talked about when we first met was Ray Combs' Family Feud. And it was one of those things that basically hit it off. That's how our friendship began. Because his oldest channel, which no longer exists, was basically a game show channel. And it was very cool. The connection that we had because of that was very nice. And we still talk about game shows a lot today, both old and new. In fact, if you're able to find any videos on his channel where he collaborates with me doing discussion videos, then a lot of them, you'll hear about that. Another thing I like about my best friend is his sense of humor. I always like guys with a nice sense of humor. And believe it or not, a lot of the jokes that I randomly throw out there during our conversations while driving around town and stuff, mostly related to game shows, he'll always laugh at because he'll always think they're funny. And then he'll come up with an interesting joke related to game shows and he'll make me laugh. I really like guys with a sense of humor, and sense of humor connected to my interests. That is a win. And I really appreciate that. And I really like the conversations that we have. Another thing I like about my best friend is that he was willing to befriend me when no one else would. And what I mean by that is the fact that, well, when I was in college, and realistically school itself, I was always focused on getting stuff done. Having friends really didn't concern me, mainly because I realized that almost nobody at the schools I went to had any of my interests. If you're familiar with my past, you'll know that the majority of the people you know about in terms of my past like the exact opposite things as me. Like me with auto racing and everyone else likes the NBA. Now, granted, my bestie does too, but we don't talk much about sports. And if we do, it's usually anything associated with either Jimmy Johnson or Danica Patrick, which is his two drivers in NASCAR. But realistically, the only NBA thing we really talk about is Space Jam. But, that's no problem, because I like Space Jam, actually. But, anyway, the fact that he's able to befriend me when no one else really would, because usually when it comes to classmates, we just focus on group work and that was it. I didn't focus on hanging out with them after work, because I just want to get the assignment done. But the fact that he was willing to befriend me when nobody else would shows the kind of person my best friend is. And I really appreciate that. Another thing I like about my best friend is his understanding. Whenever there were things going on with either one of us or people of his family, he's always understanding about it. Not many people are this understanding when it comes to circumstances going on throughout your life. Like if a hangout day between the two of us has to be delayed because of something going on with my side of the family or anything, he's always understanding about it. He's disappointed that we can't have the hangout day, but he's very understanding about things that go on. Not a lot of people that I'm aware of are like this, so I'm glad that he is one of those people that is. Another thing I like about my best friend, he's willing to listen. From what I've known via experience, a lot of people are hesitant to hear about different problems associated with people. Not my bestie. Whenever I'm down about something and no one's available to listen, or if it's something that I just can't talk to anybody else about, he's always there. Because of his understanding and his loyalty and befriending, he's always willing to listen to me when I have a problem and I can't discuss it with anybody else. So that's a good thing. And I like that. It's one thing I've always appreciated about my bestie. And I always will. And the main thing I like about my bestie the most is his perseverance. In the 5 years where he and I didn't have any sort of communication, he went through a lot of rough times in different areas. Now, I won't get into specifics, so if you want to ask him and he responds, then okay. But he went through a lot of rough stuff with different people. And it got very crazy for him. But he's still around today, mainly because of his perseverance. He's persevered through all of that. And 5 years after our last encounter, he came back, knowing my loyalty. The things that he's gone through showed me that he is one of those tough people who can survive a lot of things. And his perseverance is what makes him one of those ultimate friends. Even though we had not seen each other in a while, and in that time he went through a lot of crazy stuff, he's still here. And eventually he came back to my area. But now, because of the circumstances involving his living situation when he was living in my area, he had to move back to Maryland. And even though I'll miss our hangout days, I am happy for him in one aspect. You see, Maryland is his home state, and the vast majority of his family lives in Maryland. So if anything, he'll get to be closer to them. And in that aspect, I'm very happy for him in terms of that, which is part of the loyalty I was talking about. And that was very cool. So thank you everybody for watching the video. And it's going to be a very interesting time, but I got my folks here to help me out. And if my bestie ever needs anything, he can just text me and we can talk and all that stuff. So with that in mind, what do you guys like about your best friend? You've heard the things that I like about my best friend. And what do you guys like about yours? Let me know in the comments sector. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon, and that's my final answer.
I'll be back. Aston, yeah, that's what I said. Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be the new man of the next Apprentice show. Same guy said.